Island, where we get some shelter, where we get those clear skies. A bright but chilly start in these locations, and then the last of Storm Barra. This area of cloud and some showers moves east through Thursday morning, clearing by lunchtime, so a decent chance of sunshine in the east by the afternoon, whilst further west the cloud builds and another spell of rain moves in. It also brings milder air, 12 Celsius in the southwest, whilst it stays cold, 6 or 7 further east. And here's that band of showery rain. Nothing too problematic. It moves east for most places during Thursday afternoon and evening, clearing during the early hours, I think, from the far southeast. Then, once that's out of the way, we're into a clear spells and showery regime, with those showers pushing quite quickly into western areas, whilst clearing skies further east could lead to a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, but most places frost-free because of the breeze, I think, on Friday morning. The best of the sunshine on Friday will be in the east, perhaps the Midlands and southern England as well. However, in the northwest and west, we'll see frequent showers moving in, hail and thunder, snow over the mountains, and it will feel cold in the breeze. Saturday starts off chilly before rain arrives later, milder in the south on Sunday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Good evening, my name's Simon Evans, and very shortly we'll be presenting headliners, tomorrow's news tonight. First, here's the news.
Hello, I'm Simon Pusey. These are your latest headlines. The Prime Minister has announced England will move to Plan B COVID restrictions to curb the spread of the new variant across the UK. 131 additional Omicron cases have been confirmed today, bringing the total number of infections to 568. Boris Johnson is urging those who can to work from home from Monday. NHS vaccine passports will be mandatory in nightclubs, and from this Friday, face coverings will be compulsory in crowded indoor spaces, including cinemas and theatres.
Since I last spoke to you, it's become increasingly clear that Omicron is growing much faster than the previous Delta variant, and it's spreading rapidly all around the world. So while the picture may get better, and I sincerely hope that it will, we know that the remorseless logic of exponential growth could lead to a big rise in hospitalisations and therefore, sadly, in deaths. And that's why it's now the proportionate and the responsible thing to move to Plan B in England.
Meanwhile, the Met Police say they won't, at this stage, formally investigate allegations around the Downing Street Christmas party allegedly held under lockdown restrictions. It follows a leaked video obtained by ITV News, which shows an advisor to the Prime Minister joking about an alleged party held in Number 10 in December last year. Allegra Stratton was seen laughing with other staff about cheese and wine during a mock briefing 4 days after the event. Boris Johnson told MPs he was furious with the conduct of his staff and ordered an investigation. Hours later, Ms Stratton announced her resignation.
My remarks seemed to make light of the rules that people were doing everything to obey. That was never my intention. I will regret those remarks for the rest of my days and I offer my profound apologies to all of you at home for them. I understand the anger and frustration that people feel. To all of you who lost loved ones, who endured intolerable loneliness and who struggled with your businesses, I am truly sorry. And this afternoon I am offering my resignation to the Prime Minister.
A new poll shows most people think the lockdown Christmas party did happen despite Number 10's denials. The poll by Opinion found fewer than 1 in 10 voters believe Downing Street's claim that no party took place. 64% think the event happened, with 9% saying it didn't. And for the first time, the majority of voters, that's 53%, think Boris Johnson should resign as Prime Minister.
Opinion poll out today showed that the majority of the country, for the first time, a majority think that he should resign from the job that he's doing. The vast majority don't trust and believe that what he says. So he isn't a particularly popular politician. More people think that the moon landings were faked than think the Prime Minister is telling the truth about this story.
You are right up to date. Now back to headliners.
Thank you, Simon, and good evening, and hello and welcome. My name is Simon Evans, and this is Headliners, your chance to grab tomorrow's headlines today. Some days, the front pages loom up suddenly, unexpectedly, like a 20-foot alligator emerging out of 8 inches of muddy water in a Florida swamp to take your leg off. Other days, you start to have a pretty good idea of what might be lurking beneath the surface long before you transition into the reality of tomorrow morning. Today, I suspect, is one of those days. Well, let's see. We start with the Mail, and one rule for them, new rules for the rest of us. The Telegraph has don't go to work, but do go to parties. And PM calls for national debate about mandatory jabs to fight COVID. The Sun goes with do as I say, not as I Christmas do. Not a great pun, but the sentiment is fairly familiar. The Guardian has PM triggers COVID Plan B as party scandal engulfs Number 10. The FT has Johnson adopts Plan B to check virus as anger festers over parties. And Biden proposes NATO talk with Putin in bid to halt Moscow invasion of Ukraine. The Metro has PM taking the public for fools. The Eye leads with PM's 24-hour U-turn on COVID Plan B, and Boris Johnson faces mounting Tory anger over lockdown breach. The Independent has Johnson tightens rules to crack down on Omicron, and Stratton quits over Number 10 party video. The Express has PM Plan B, best chance for close to normal Christmas, and a photo of the Duchess of Cambridge with Kate's comfort and joy for COVID heroes. The Times has PM orders working from home and Tories held raucous second party. The Star has Clubo Captain Cock-up, it was everybody else in the Number 10 drawing room with wine and nibbles. So, as I suspected, two stories dominate the headlines tonight. I'm joined by Nick Dixon and Josh Howie. Good evening to you, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good evening.
How has everyone's last day of Plan A been?
Right, it's the end, isn't it? It's going to be strange. We've got comedy gigs, but they're suddenly going to be all masked.
We're going back into the recent past. It's just a question of how deep into the tundra we intend to plummet. Let's have a look at these two stories in some detail. We've got two stories, essentially. They're connected at the hip, at the shoulder, at the heel. Johnson's shoddy cabinet, both introducing lurching performative measures, in my view, to pointlessly dampen the pleasure of Christmas for the second year running, while fighting a rearguard action over pretty plausible claims that they themselves were utterly and frankly enragingly unable to adopt and obey their own punitive lockdown rules last Christmas, and instead had to write old knees up in close proximity to number 10, even while thousands of us were sitting sadly at home, feeling wretched and forbidden even to offer a comforting hand to squeeze a loved one in a hospital bed. Let's start with the new Plan B rules. Decorum forbids me for suggesting what the B stands for, but essentially it's more PPE theatre, masks everywhere, work from home if you can, and presumably still no snogging strangers on the tube. What sort of Christmas is that? Who wants to spin comedy gold out of this? Josh, shall I come to you first?
I mean, I can't believe that we're back here again, and it just feels... It's ridiculous. I mean, I sort of say, how does he think he's going to get away with it? But it's worked for him every single time. Is this the time that actually people are going to see what's going on?
When you say it's worked for him, what do you mean?
Just pulling this plan out of nowhere. They were going to talk about it. They were talking about it maybe for next week because the data's still being compiled. And the language that's used, he says, we can't yet assume that Omicron is less severe than previous variants. Well, we can't assume that it's not less severe.
There's plenty of data to suggest that it is less.
Yeah, supposedly no one's died of it yet. Supposedly it isn't, doesn't have an effect our newest grade, even though it is more contagious. And this is just like he's brought it all forward because everything's kicking off about this party.
What do you think, Nick?
Well, that's the key question. I mean, the accusation was it's a dead cat because he's got this Christmas party scandal, so he's brought forward the Plan B thing. But then I also saw someone saying they're trying to get through these Plan B measures, and the party is the dead cat. So it's which awful thing is covering up for which other awful thing.
Some people say it's all a dead cat because it's something to do with the police bill that they want to get through. I mean, but there is a certain mindset which seems to have grown over the last few years that everything that's in the news is there to distract you from other things.
It's all a big nudge. I mean, Dominic Cummings thought it was the most obvious one. He said any cabinet minister who supports the trolley, which is Boris, of course, announced Plan B today in lunatic attempt to dead cat the parties is defending the indefensible. Now it's time for cabinet to take back control and tell trolley, no, first you must resolve this catastrophe you've created. So he felt that the Plan B thing was a mad dead cat for the party.
Why does he call him trolley? I haven't.
His idea is a shopping trolley smashing backwards and forth between the aisles from one crazy idea to the next with no plan.
Hurtling him down the aisle.
I think it's supermarket sweep. Just to get through it.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I used to defend Boris to a certain extent. I used to think, I mean, obviously it was all a bit of an act, mussing up his hair and all the rest of it, Although I have seen him cycling through London, he genuinely was in a state on a regular basis. But I did, I used to sort of put that into a bit of a box and say, yeah, but what is he actually delivering? Just lately, I've really lost my patience with him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have. I mean, actually, the Express had a thing that this Plan B could cost us $4 billion a month. So some people talk as if, better safe than sorry. But of course, it's not safe because it has a massive impact on businesses. And I'm sure a lot of people in travel and hospitality don't see it as better safe than sorry because if you lose your business, that's it. It's over, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not better safe than sorry for kids who are at no risk at all of really getting serious illness from this, but are at serious risk from having their childhood blighted.
Well, next week, Spider-Man comes out. I don't want to sit there in a mask with the thing, I mean,
a web across your face is a kind of...
Maybe I'll put on a Spider-Man mask, and that'll help.
What about the idea? I mean, some people have said, for instance, they've been continuing to impose mask protocols in Scotland for a long time after they brought them out in England.
Cases are worse there.
And it was worse. They're genuinely, and I mean, the physics of it doesn't seem to make any sense. There's a suggestion that it might make some nervous people feel a little bit more reassured about getting on the tube, but that doesn't seem to me to be an adequate excuse, frankly. If they don't work, if it doesn't seem to correlate with bringing numbers down, then why are we doing that?
Right. Well, many people think the masks are just theatre and another nudge, and many people, including me, would say that. But I find it interesting people's response to this because they're rightly outraged that the government aren't following the rules. But some people don't take the next step and go, well, doesn't that imply that the government didn't think there was a real risk anyway?
No, that's
and
right.
Actually there is no risk. Now, other people have argued to me, no, it's not that. It's actually that there was a risk. It's just that they're so arrogant and people tend to think it won't happen to me. So actually, the government ignoring the rules shouldn't be a reason for us to ignore the rules. I tend to think it should be. if they're not even taking them seriously.
It does sometimes feel like, I mean, I'm not personally vaccine hesitant. I've been double vaxxed. I booked in for my booster, and my wife, full disclosure, worked for Kate Bingham last year and has some kind of, familiarity with the legitimacy, I think, of the vaccine program. But when you talk to people about why should you need a vaccine passport to get into a place, if you're vaccinated, that should make you feel confident and reassured, shouldn't it? If they work, then surely they work. There's an extraordinarily elusive sense that the argument changes and slips around as you try and go. So if it works, and I'm not vaccinated, but you're vaccinated, so if I get COVID and pass it on to you, you won't be in trouble because you've been vaccinated. That will mitigate any. Yeah, but it's not about that. It's about minimising the access to the ICU units, which you'll block up if you get it selfishly.
Right.
So this seems to be the latest kind of thinking, right? So the basic principle is that you are being selfish by potentially putting yourself at risk of throwing yourself into an ICU. Is that roughly how you
I guess,
understand?
I mean, they're just constantly moving the goalposts when it comes to this. And it's always, and they haven't seen any figures that deaths are going up, that more beds are being taken or anything.
No.
The thing that scares me most is Nick and I share a local Sainsbury's. And I'm always afraid. I wear my mask in Sainsbury's. I'm always afraid of bumping into Nick. He's gonna sort of scorn me.
Mask shame.
Yeah, he's just gonna be like, "Oh, you idiot, you sheep with your mask."
Well, I've been highly scorned for my stances on masks. I've lost friends over it, and I've been told I deserve months of suffering for suggesting that masks might not work. Months, yes, meaning that I should get COVID. That friendship didn't last. But anyway, I just wanted to come back on your ICU argument.
Yeah.
There's a lot of illogical arguments because we all know you can have COVID and having been vaccinated, you can still have it. Therefore, vaccine passports seem illogical because then you can not have had the vaccine and you haven't got it.
Yeah.
They did at least mention that you'll be able to do a lateral flow test as well, which at least is logical.
Yeah.
But now they're keeping that in.
And it's faked as well, evidently.
But the ICU argument, it's interesting because if you go with the argument of yes, but you're clogging up beds by not having it, okay, there may be something in that. But the problem with that argument is you open the Pandora's box of, well, what if you're obese? What if you smoke and so on?
Exactly.
So I find that to be a weak
Although
argument.
I've always said smokers are extraordinarily generous, in fact, because they at least paying about 15 quid a packet. Most of that goes to Customs and Excise. You can build a new wing if you're a heavy smoker every couple of years.
And some have even said that if you die earlier, you're helping out in a way as well, that I wouldn't make such a bleak
In Central
joke.
and Eastern Europe, there were, in many years, it was official government policy to encourage smoking in order to shorten the period of retirement on the state benefits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen here. Wouldn't happen openly. Can I add one thing about it, or do you want to move on?
Well, we're only going to take in the other story, which is the same thing, but carry on, yeah.
Well, it's just that it really bothers me, and I have to represent my side of the internet, which is that Boris answered a question in this press conference.
Yeah.
It was one of these questions from a member of the public who sounded like the Good Morning Britain staff because he was asking about mandatory vaccinations. And then Boris gave this very worrying answer to me. He said, yes, in future we might not be able to do NPIs, non-pharmaceutical interventions, and we might have to look at other methods, and he said other ways of protecting people and start a national conversation. And to me, he was vaguely hinting at either lockdowns for the unvaccinated or possibly mandatory vaccines. Because when he says other ways of protecting them, he sounds a bit too much to me like Jacinda Ardern.
I was going to say,
right.
it's Jacinda, isn't it?
You don't necessarily want that kind of protection, do you? The kind of protection that ends all your liberty.
To be honest, it would be the worst of both worlds to have a PM that looks like Boris and talks like Jacinda. That's a bad lose. The other string then to this backfiring catapult is the resignation of Allegra Stratton, and it has to be said she did genuinely look very sorry. In fact, I've got to be honest, I felt a tiny twinge of sympathy for her. She really looked like she'd had a rough night, and I don't think she ever did intend for her giggling disrespect to be watched by countless millions of people. People who have perhaps lost loved ones while obeying rules that her own department had issued, and then it seems rather been unable to remember after the first half bottle of Prosecco. But Boris has denounced the very thought of a party. He insists it didn't take place, and certainly that he had no idea, so he can't obviously prove a negative, but as far as he's concerned, no such party exists. Is that plausible? If it is, it sounds like he's going to throw more people under this bus than any regular bus would be capable of driving over. I think he may actually, I mean, it's been clear for some time now that the buck doesn't stop with Johnson, but I think maybe the bus will do. What do you think? He could just, I mean, he's basically said his whole department is
Right.
is either lying to him or disposable at this
I know,
point.
and it's fascinating, this party, that it didn't happen, but if it did, everything was followed, so everyone is saying, and I wasn't there, you weren't where? It's like if a party happens in an empty forest, does anyone not attend? You know what I mean? That is the question. So, yeah, but you know what? I'm like you, I felt a little bit of sympathy for Allegra Stratton because I've been attacked on the internet a bit, so imagine getting attacked by the whole country. Yeah. I know there's not much sympathy for her at the moment, but that will make you emotional.
You're never going to drop it, are you? I apologise. I am sorry. Jeez.
I'm just saying, she has been made the scapegoat a little bit. Everyone's saying they laughed at us. I thought her laughter was more embarrassment and awkwardness. But the metaphorical... Exactly. Yeah. The metaphorical laughter at the whole country by not following the rules, I'm absolutely on board. That was terrible. Yeah. But I think she's been made a bit of a scapegoat. I mean, no one, let's be honest, did anyone really know about Allegra Stratton before now? Now she's been fired.
She never even, that press conference, which is weird watching the press conference briefly, because at first you're going, this is a weird press conference, and then you realise it's like a wargaming kind of scenario, yeah. And there's this guy, Ed Oldfield, who's actually asking the question, and he sounds actually a little bit more cocky, I think, than she is, and he's a little bit more problematic. But she genuinely wasn't at the party, I think. That's you know, whether or not the party happened, I think it's pretty clear that she wasn't there. She's not somebody who's laughing about her own, like, a slippery attempt to kind of evade capture at this point. So,
are you sure she wasn't at the party?
I'm pretty sure that she wasn't. I don't think there's any suggestion that she... even the people who do think that the party happened. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't think her apology was...
adequate.
No, not adequate, but it felt a bit actory for me.
You didn't think
there's a lot of
the bags under the eyes?
No,
pepper spray?
I could do that. Look, let me show you right now. There was a lot of sniffing, but it was like... I didn't feel authentic to me, and I just think it's just so overblown. You know, I will regret those remarks for the rest of my days. But you know, I won't regret working for a corrupt, lying government for the rest of my days.
I remember that job appointment being advertised, incidentally, and I was very close to applying for it because I really thought that would be quite an interesting job to have. And I'd seen The West Wing, you know, and I'd seen that how you know...
What, corrupt, lying government? What
job? Allegra Stratton, the press secretary, you know, because I thought it was at that exact moment that there'd been a whole raft of press secretaries for Trump's White House. And it looked like the best fun job you could have and a great start
for 3 weeks.
You know, 3 weeks of that. Scaramouche, remember him, and all those. There were a whole range of they were like Punch and Judy show. Yeah. They come up, you know, and they were gone. I thought that would be great fun. I'm quite glad now that I dodged that bullet.
You got this one.
Yeah.
You've still got 2 more weeks left.
Yeah.
So.
The one part of the apology that I thought was a bit odd was when she worked in, and I'm glad about the work I did on coal cars, cash and trees. Did you see that bit?
No.
She threw in the little thing of coal cars, cash and trees. It was a bit of a bizarre... It was one of these, look, I'm proud of the thing I did at COP26.
Yeah.
Fair enough. She wanted to get that in. Do you think there's anything in the fact that her husband is James Forsyth at The Spectator, who was best man at Rishi's wedding? And this is where you start to piece it together and think, is this a Rishi coup?
James Forsyth, he's the editor.
Political editor of The Spectator.
Political editor, right, yeah.
So he's Allegra Stratton's husband, and he's also best man at Rishi's wedding. Now, I'm not saying it's a Rishi coup. Those are not the views of GB News. I'm just saying...
Yeah.
It is
sure you're not saying that?
I'm not saying... I'm not even alleging it. I'm just remarking...
Is there anything...
I'm asking the question. Yeah, because...
It feels like the tightest little clutch of significance since what would they call that set where you had David Cameron...
Oh, yeah, and near Oxford
Rebecca,
or whatever.
The Bullingdon Club.
Yeah, no, they were at the Cotswold, Chipping Norton set,
It's just a question about... Obviously, people who are working in similar industries are going to know each other, but are the journalists a bit too close to the politicians?
Well, it certainly looked that way in America with the Cuomo brothers, isn't it? We haven't been able to cover that, but that's been extraordinary. They've both fallen on each other's swords. Quite
and lastly, will any of them resign? That's my question.
Folks, it is time to take a look at tomorrow's weather, which is traditionally sponsored at this time of year by a holiday company. Let's see.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello again. Gradually through the next 24 hours, the wind is going to ease. Showers will ease with a better chance of some sunshine in places by Thursday. However, some more rain will move in from the west later in the day. Storm Barra is filling and moving away. As a result, the wind on the whole starting to lessen during the next 24 hours. And any showery rain that's still wrapped around that area of low pressure will also tend to disappear. But it's going to take some time, so further showers in places through the central zones and northwestern areas overnight. A better chance, though, in places of some clear spells developing through the night. And with those winds coming down, a touch of frost possible for parts of northern England, Scotland, for example, Northern Ireland, where we get some shelter, where we get those clear skies. A bright but chilly start in these locations, and then the last of Storm Barra, this area of cloud and some showers, moves east through Thursday morning, clearing by lunchtime, so a decent chance of sunshine in the east by the afternoon, whilst further west the cloud builds and another spell of rain moves in. It also brings milder air, 12 Celsius in the southwest, whilst it stays cold, 6 or 7 further east. And here's that band of showery rain. Nothing too problematic. It moves east for most places during Thursday afternoon and evening, clearing during the early hours, I think, from the far southeast. Then, once that's out of the way, we're into a clear spells and showery regime, with those showers pushing quite quickly into western areas, whilst clearing skies further east could lead to a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, but most places frost-free because of the breeze, I think, on Friday morning. The best of the sunshine on Friday will be in the east, perhaps the Midlands and southern England as well. However, in the northwest and west, we'll see frequent showers moving in, hail and thunder, snow over the mountains, and it will feel cold in the breeze. Saturday starts off chilly before rain arrives later, milder in the south on Sunday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Tonight I'm joined by Nick Dixon and Josh Howie. The Telegraph has uncovered pictures of Jeffrey Epstein, who didn't kill himself, and Ghislaine Maxwell in a log cabin. The Queen has also frequented on her own premises in Balmoral, although I have to say I find the term log cabin a bit crude and disrespectful for this sort of royal facility. I would prefer the term royal privy. Anyway, there they are. It's a glorious shot, isn't it? A wonderful bucolic splendour with a lovely young couple enjoying the royal hospitality. What do you think, Nick?
Yes, well, there it is. The headline is Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein seen relaxing in Queen's log cabin at Balmoral in newly released photograph. And it says here it's unclear when the photograph was taken, although it has been previously been reported that Miss Maxwell and Epstein were personally hosted at Balmoral by Prince Andrew in 1999.
Oh, does he know them?
That's how you know.
I think this photo was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. I was just going to say that's how you know it was a log cabin and not a sweat lodge. That's my joke there.
Could be a sauna.
Yeah,
be quite an
it'll be fine.
Well, we'll put the
put it to the test.
Come on, break you swine.
So yes, this was. And actually, I just checked on Twitter, and there's another aspect that Kevin Spacey has now been seen at allegedly at Buckingham Palace with Ghislaine, allegedly sitting on thrones in a visit from Bill Clinton in 2002. So it's all happening. Yeah, I mean, amazing, isn't it?
Kevin Spacey's wrong, isn't
just sitting around. All they're doing, these people, these sex offenders, they're just sitting. It's disgusting.
I know. Epstein knew if he knew the Queen, it seems like he had a great life. Why did he kill himself?
Ian McKellen sat on the throne. He does that anecdote. Who was he with? Was it someone like Elaine Stritch or someone like that? And they were wandering around the palace having received their OBEs. He tells the story on one of the premiere, is it a Graham Norton show, I think. And they wandered around. They found themselves accidentally in the throne room, and they sat on the thrones and had a fag.
So do you think it's not that significant to just be sat in these
famously,
places?
the story, one of the first stories I ever heard about getting an MBE was the Beatles having a joint in the loos, but apparently that was invented by John afterwards in order to ruffle feathers, and then he handed his back in protest against cold turkey slipping down the charts.
Right. Yeah.
Those were the days.
Well, this is not going to help.
Innocent.
Well, you're sort of suggesting it might not be that big, but it's not going to help rumours on the internet, is it? To be seen at the Queen's log cabin.
I mean, this picture in itself isn't incriminating, except there is something a bit weird and creepy about the way those two are always photographed. Sort of, I don't know. There's something about the way they touch each other that's not quite normal.
He's got like a tiny cup of tea. That's too small a cup of tea. Or is it, maybe it's cappuccino. He's got his glasses on his head. He looks like a Roman.
They have a decent espresso machine at Balmoral. I bet it's a really old-fashioned percolator.
At least there's some proper stories coming out about it, because everything I've heard about the trial so far has been Ghislaine Maxwell looks stunning in dress, and these weird puff pieces that kept coming out.
Yeah,
this doesn't seem to get...
You really think this is a proper story, though? Like, there was a photo of them where someone else sat once.
Yeah, but it's at least a bit more damning than she looks great in a dress, which is I kept seeing all these. I think this trial's not being... I don't know, it doesn't seem to be out in the... Like, the Rittenhouse trial was very public.
Absolutely.
But how is this damning? What does it prove?
This picture proves nothing at all, except they were young once and in love.
Well, it's vaguely...
It fleshes out the...
one of the guests who was supposedly also there, was a model at the time, said she was a model in her 20s. She told the Daily Mail that the prince took them there, so I'm assuming that we know which prince that is. And he was really nice, very polite, but suggested that he had his guard up, which that sounds like a euphemism to me.
You would have your guard up.
Just that weird kind of like gumminess he has. We're looking at the Telegraph next, and they have reported the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, has banned the term BAME, certainly pronounced as a single word rather than delivered as an acronym, due to white nervousness about... the sort of awkwardness, I suppose.
Let's talk to this guy, Mr. White Nerves, sitting right here.
Nick, are you feeling nervous about it? Don't be nervous. I'm still talking to white people about race.
Evidently. Yeah, well, I mean, yes, white nerves. I mean, we talked about very briefly about the term, people of colour at the end of one of these shows, and you said something and I just didn't comment at all. That was white nervousness. Yeah. But, yes, BBC bans BAME as report reveals white nervousness when talking about race. So it's June Sarpong, the BBC's Director of Creative Diversity, formerly on Loose Women and stuff, is among those to have regularly used the BAME acronym. However, a report commissioned by the BBC on behalf of the broadcasting industry and carried out by the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity said the term was problematic. I'm sorry to laugh at that, but it's just, you live long enough, all the presenters and comedians become serious directors and we're going to end up with like the Josh Howie Centre for Inclusion and Difficult Gigs or something. I don't know.
Previously the J.K. Rowling Centre for Wizardry and...
Right, they changed the name to Lenny Henry Centre.
The Jim Davidson Centre for Excellence in Snooker or something. Just for all these...
This idea of white nervousness is funny, but do you know what? So the idea that BAME is now offensive, it does remind me a little bit of the people of colour thing that Amber Rudd got into. And you do think she wasn't trying to... She said coloured instead of people of colour, and you do think at that level, it's not really... You do have some sympathy for white nervousness if you can just switch around the words and suddenly it becomes very offensive.
I've always found it quite easy to remember that people of colour is OK and coloured people is not OK.
I have to be fair.
There's no logic to it, and what I do feel bad about is I heard my mother say coloured people on one occasion. I didn't correct her, but I felt a little shudder of shame on her behalf, and I just thought if she was in a certain company...
Well, give me your mum's Twitter account, I'll cancel her.
Yeah. She's been cancelled by COVID anyway, as in locked in, not utterly, not terminally.
Sorry.
The thing about it is, though, BAME as... some people say black and minority ethnic, and the A is just and, but I think it's supposed to be black Asian. And
it should be BAME.
Yeah, you've got a little A and a big A.
Yeah.
But it is patronising, it is condescending, it's crude, and it's undifferentiated, because black and Asian people face distinctly different challenges and indeed enjoy different privileges in some regards. Say Asian people, some different, I mean, even Asian, that covers everything from
I'm a minority ethnic.
Yeah, exactly. Jewish people. Well, funny enough, David Baddiel has written about this in his book, isn't it? Are Jews to be considered BAME? There are so many issues. It is just like trying to throw a fire blanket over the whole mess and just pretend it's been dealt with, and it really hasn't. You know,
Right.
I kind of agree.
And to be fair, the report concluded that it was actually a term imposed on them. So you tend to think, oh, is it actually just coming from woke white people?
It's probably
no one actually liked this term.
Yeah.
And what's quite hilarious as well, like you say, that people think the A stands for and then one of the contributors to the report actually then says, to me, it means black and minority and ethnic. So even he thinks that. So no one even knows what it means. So what they've concluded by saying is that there's the term BAME, they're not sure what to use instead, and there's no easy consensus on what such a term might be. So no one likes that term. I've got this crazy idea. Why not just treat people as individuals? Talk about. I don't know if am I Martin Luther King? Treat people as individuals. Talk about. Why do you actually need to use the word? When does it come up?
Well, there are specific.
Well, so that we can impose differential legislation on them, Nick. Otherwise, you know, how are you going to pick them out and know which camp to put them in?
And also, the word minority is a problem because when you're dealing with the World Service and whatever. So this is what RADA and the Casting Directors Guild now use the phrase black and global majority.
Wow.
And I don't even know where the
global majority, which is like the global south, I guess.
I mean, the black and to put, I mean, it's ridiculous.
But it is equally ridiculous to refer to, for instance, Muslims as a minority, when in reality that's a vast religion that spans the world, and many of the world's most populous countries are officially, you know.
Yeah, I think Phil Wang had a good joke. The comedian, he was English and part Chinese. He said, "I'm not a minority, I'm two majority." You know, so that's it. When you speak to a global audience, exactly.
He's an enormously powerful man. I would just like to offer a content warning. I should have done probably on that last section, but this next bit for our more sensitive viewers is about content warnings, and they in themselves can, of course, be triggering. We have the Times now, and students at Durham University. Durham, of course, once famed for turning out horny-handed sons of the pit. But now a slightly more timid and sensitive few. They have asked for content warnings after a row over a Rod Liddle speech. Now, I can't imagine you can book Rod Liddle for a speech and not expect a certain amount of...
God, I'm surprised that they know who Rod Liddle is, to be honest.
Little Rod.
Yeah. So this is the Times. Durham University students, they asked for content warnings. So there was a Rod Liddle speech, and there's a few things here. First of all, they're saying they didn't even know that he was going to be speaking. But for me, it's that the dinner where he spoke at, it cost £10.
Wow.
What about?
Well, I suppose it would have cost 20 if Rod Liddle hadn't been speaking.
Yeah,
It's like an unsigned book, isn't it?
So they all, supposedly he said some remarks that people disagreed with.
Yeah.
That seems totally fine. I don't agree with a lot of the remarks that he said. But then the person who invited him, Professor Tim Luckhurst, and his wife, then got into arguments with the students. And there's a very funny video of his wife singing the word. Singing the word. I don't know if we could say it.
Arse.
Arse. She just decided,
you can't say arse. Arse. And then
let's just say she might have taken that £10 free drinks too far. She's like, oh my God.
What was brilliant though, afterwards, she said she's totally adopted the language of the university, because she then says that afterwards, she says that she felt afraid and they were making her feel stressed. And you see the video, she doesn't look remotely afraid. She looks tipsy.
She's just drunk.
She's quite enjoying it. She's going, oh, stop it. Stop being so pathetic. You're being an arse. Arse. It's wonderful. It's exactly what a principal or whatever the dean's wife should be like.
Absolutely. That's the university experience that you go for, surely. So, I mean,
my daughter has been offered a place at York University today, and I'm quite pleased about that. Yeah,
but it's not Durham.
Exactly. Yeah. So far they've stayed out of this nonsense, as far as I can see. But I do worry about it, though. I don't want, kids go off to university now. They get 50 grand in debt at minimum, really, and they spend their time demanding that the adults, grown-ups who have some experience of running the joint, resign because they've booked a controversial.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, they're saying, his position is now untenable. The student union, and the way they say it is also notwithstanding any other positive things done that he's already done. So it's like, it sounds like he's done loads of great stuff, but now his position's like, I mean, it's just this ridiculous straight to, like, we disagree with that, you got to go.
It's absolutely nonsense. However, we have got to go. It's time for a break.
No.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. And something else, I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, and I'm proud, frankly, pleased and rather excited to say we have breaking news. My very first example of that. The Conservative Party has acknowledged that a party dig take place at its headquarters during the coronavirus restrictions last December. Following a report in The Times, a Tory spokesman said senior CCHQ staff became aware of an unauthorised social gathering in the basement of Matthew Parker Street, organised by the Bailey campaign on the evening of December the 14th. Well, that's obviously quite a significant little... I don't know that that's the same party either. I'm not sure that's it, is it? That's a completely different...
Right, there's the 18th, and then there's also November 27th,
Which
I want to know about.
The Gavin Williamson, was it? Is that right? There was one of those that they had.
Yeah, he did a speech.
There's some suggestion they had a bit of a party. I think this was a bit earlier when Dominic Cummings was first kicked out, but that might have been before the really...
Well, then the whole country party. That.
But the Bailey campaign, are we talking about Sean Bailey campaigning for Mayor of London?
Possibly. I mean...
He was here earlier.
We could have asked him. The fact that they're admitting this, I mean, how many parties, and also what else are they hiding from this point? I mean...
It's good to know that the party that definitely happened, basically. That's what we found out there, isn't it?
Yeah, that we all knew about.
Very interesting. Anyway, it will all come out in the wash. In the meantime, The Express, Nick, and snooker, I mentioned earlier in connection with Jim Davison.
Oh, yes. Another important breaking story about snooker. The Express, Ronnie O'Sullivan warns son about snooker career in brazen rant. Go and get a job, mate, is his advice. So basically, in summary, Ronnie O'Sullivan is saying snooker's not the draw it once was in the heyday of snooker. And if he did it now, he probably wouldn't. He'd advise he said, if I had a son, which I have, I'd advise him not to go into snooker. He says 25 years ago, it was a sexy sport. Questionable claim there, but OK, I know what he means. But now it isn't. You know what? I knew an agent that once said that... you know, they used to say comedy is the new rock and roll at one point in the 90s. He said it's not, it's the new snooker. And I saw what he meant, because it was popular for a time, wasn't it, stand-up comedy? And then it sort of went back to a thing you just had to survive in the clubs. Snooker sort of had it, also similar in that you can do them both drunk, can't you? You can do, and they appear mainly on the BBC Two. But anyway, the point is snooker was big, wasn't it? Now it's not so big anymore, and that's the whole story as far as I can gather.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, though, he is a very singular individual. I don't think you could find an exact correlate in stand-up comedy, because he was an absolute firecracker. He was an extraordinary talent, and in my day, I guess
Alex Higgins as well.
Higgins was the closest,
yeah.
but Higgins was erratic. He did win once, but he often just burned out. O'Sullivan was just amazing. He'd win more often than not, and with extraordinary panache. So if he can't make it sexy, nobody can, really. There's an awful lot of vaguely robotic players who are extraordinarily competent, but O'Sullivan really stands alone as the entertainer.
Yeah, and it seems like we may never know his ilk again because there's not the funding. I mean, they're pointing out here the winner of this major tournament will take home 70,000, but the rest only get 3,000. So it's one of these it's a bit like showbiz. It's one of these very uneven businesses.
Poker. That was a big thing for a while, wasn't it? Playing Texas
Yes,
Hold'em,
that's true.
and they had a few stars. I mean, I suppose a lot of other things come along, don't they? Like the people who play video games on YouTube, and commentate on their own video, like PewDiePie, biggest YouTube star in the world.
Look at you, Mr. Down with the kids.
Well, he was a neighbour, and
then he made too much money.
Yeah, he has gone. But what I mean is these things replace other things, don't they? There isn't room for an ever-growing pantheon of entertainment stars, of recreational activities that you can watch other people enjoying. Something has to give way.
Yeah.
So snooker's a communal thing.
Yeah.
And when are we ever going to get to play snooker again?
Yeah.
Right.
Although it is
it's
a good
quite
6
socially
feet
distanced.
away.
Yeah.
The queue length is actually the ideal way of maintaining that.
Maybe that will be its resurgence.
The Guardian has revealed that the Turing scheme, which is not to be confused with the Turing test, the Turing scheme is something that was used to replace the Erasmus scheme, as always illustrated with gorgeous young women in mortarboards. The Erasmus scheme, which was run by the British Council, and that's been replaced by something called Capita, who I assume are some sort of management consultancy or something, are they?
This is... I love this headline. Capita undercuts the British Council to run the Turing student exchange scheme, which replaced Erasmus. That's a lot of stuff going on there.
Weird names. This is not to do... Copernicus isn't one of this as well, which is the one that...
You're coming across very Boris Johnson at the moment.
Exactly. She couldn't pronounce it because she hadn't got a classical education. But yeah.
This is okay. So they've hired this company Capita, who already the contracts they have been awarded are supposedly terrible. They've already faced criticism. They've high-profile failings involving the army recruitment that they're involved in. Also, they're involved in
G4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then the back office administration, NHS England, and now they're being rewarded again with this other contract.
Because they bid low, basically.
Yeah, because they bid low. And you just got to ask yourself, my immediate thing is, which Tory MP is on the board?
On the other hand, do you know Erasmus? Do you know who he was?
I don't know.
He was a essentially Dutch scholar of the late Renaissance period, and he was most famous for a single work, In Praise of Folly.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I thought he was a transformer.
Yeah,
so I
you know.
I thought it was an Autobot.
I knew that.
Oh, you did well. Very good.
Eraser Mouse, you're thinking of.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nick? Do you think these schemes should be left in the hands of Quangos and Nangos?
Honestly, Simon, I have nothing on it because I read it 3 times. It was so boring, I couldn't get it into my mind. I only deal with breaking stories now about snooker, so I thought I'd leave it to Josh that one.
I find the notion of the British Council, I don't know that they would be that great. I can imagine a certain amount of civil service complacency, that the sort of people who take long holidays during the fall of Kabul. You know, I'm not sure. I don't think a bit of the chill winds of competition wouldn't shake this system up.
Well, I mean, look, I don't. Well, the point is the people who have been doing it, the British Council, have been doing a great job.
Have they?
For a long time.
Have they? Because we've only just introduced.
Well, no, but they have, and they've given out all the money for this year, and 48% of it went to disadvantaged humans.
Oh, disadvantaged.
But there, another DV contract that went for this, the National Tutoring Programme. They were meant to treat. They said they were going to treat 500,000, and they've so far treated 43,000.
Well, it's a start.
This is so.
You've got to start somewhere. With a single step.
Mate, by the time they get it going on, those kids are going to be graduated.
Nick, we talked about COVID passports, and I know you have strong opinions. The Premier League have a particular dog in this fight.
Yes, well, this is much more my department, sports. Eventually, I'll just do a whole sports
section. There it is,
section.
A Man United shirt is exactly your team, right?
Absolutely.
And, is that Ronaldo?
The great Ronaldo, yes, indeed.
Is he literally running over the heads of all those fans?
He's just walking on air.
Just doesn't count.
He's a genius. So this is in the Times. Premier League grounds set for vaccine passports under COVID Plan B. Obviously, we heard this in the press conference. And, of course, I'm appalled by vaccine passports, period. I mean, at least for now, they seem to be allowing the lateral flow test, which, I've done lateral flows. At least it's logical, as I've said.
Wait, can I just... You're admitting to do lateral flows?
Yeah.
Well...
You sell out!
I went out with a woman who, let's say, liked me to do lateral flow tests because she was a bit concerned about COVID. So I got into doing these lateral flow tests. And I didn't particularly. I thought it was a bit odd, but she said,
"Foreplay."
Well, she said it was your choice, and I said, "Well, it's a bit of a coercive choice, isn't it? Because if I don't do them, I won't see you." But I think that was her ideal.
That's as far as pegging went. A couple of nostrils and a tonsil. That's all right.
So you have to do them for work. So I don't mind lateral flow because I know some of my side of the internet will say I'm a sellout, but they are at least logical. It's sort of they're not perfect, but they're much more logical than vaccine passports, which achieve nothing. But they are planning to do it anyway, and the Premier League have said we've planned for this and we're in a good place, not ethically, but technically.
On the edge of town in a vast stadium.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Neville's against them, and that's where I tend to get most of my opinions from, the great Gary Neville.
Oh, he's pretty sound.
He's from my mum's hometown of Bury. But anyway, the point is, they're doing the vaccine passports. They don't think it's practical to actually check if everyone's had a vaccine. So they're probably going to do these spot checks, which apparently worked well in autumn. So this is what they're saying. You can't check 82,000 tickets at Twickenham, but you can just randomly terrorise people instead. That's not the word they used.
No. And at Twickenham, that's no good for the Premier League, is it?
No, that's rugby. But of course, no one likes empty stadiums either. But we don't want vaccine passports either.
So you've seen one of the most famous, you call it a GIF, I guess, a sort of GIF meme on the internet, is that fella doing very perfunctory checks to see if anyone's walking into a football ground carrying a machete. Have you seen that one who just sort of does that? And it's not. It's going to be like that, isn't it? They're just when you.
Of course it is. It's just all for show.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And a huge racket. I mean, the PCR test. The bloody.
Yeah.
Anyway. I'm only jealous. The Independent has an Easter story for us at Christmas time, it seems. Josh, this is crucifixion. I'm not sure I should be coming to you with it.
I know. Why are you coming to the Jew?
What about our Lord?
Still, it was the Romans. Come on.
I wash my hands.
Yeah. So, the Express. So they've got the first example of Roman crucifixion in the UK, unearthed in Cambridgeshire. They found a nail in the person's heel, in a skeleton's heel.
Is that a picture of the heel or of the?
Yeah, I guess that's the heel. That's the thing. Personally, I think he could have just been really bad at DIY. I don't know if that necessarily proves...
My dad did that once.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be... hopefully that's not him. But they're very...
Sorry to interrupt. That is a bone I'm looking at, not...
That is a bone, and there is a nail, a well-preserved nail there.
Oh, my goodness.
That looks
really is
pretty painful. Pretty painful. And they said there's only one other previous example like this of crucifixion has been found worldwide in Israel. I think we know who we're talking about.
Well, I'm glad you've acknowledged it.
I'm glad
what, that it happened?
Yeah.
I never said Jesus didn't exist.
I'm glad
he just wasn't the Messiah.
I'm so glad you've chosen... I'm just saying it's great that you've chosen now to take Jesus Christ as your Lord and Saviour.
He was a Jew. He was a brother.
So he was the Lord.
No, he was one of my peeps.
He was a secular. He was a
rabbi.
Occupy Wall Street.
He was a rabbi. He was
anti-capitalist.
He was the son of God, not. Yeah.
But you know how you die when you're crucified?
All Jews were all the son of God.
Do you know the mechanism by which you die when you're crucified?
Is it no blood loss?
Asphyxiation.
Because of your...
You slump down, and that's...
Have you tried that out?
It's almost the worst thing about it, isn't it? Autoerotic
Almost the worst thing about it. Yeah.
It's getting the orange in.
They also said here, I like this, the Express, they said, unlike the most famous Christian example of the crucifixion of Jesus, as opposed to the famous Buddhist example and various other world religions out there.
Yeah. The Independent, however, has brought Christmas up to date. It's rumbled the Norwegians for sending us a shoddy tree. This is supposed to be... I remember a gift from the people of Norway was a regular feature in Blue Peter when I was growing up. I can't remember, was it for standing by them during the war or something?
For helping them out with the Nazis.
Even though that was the most bodged campaign of the entire war, wasn't it? The Battle of Norway, that was the one that forced Chamberlain to resign, I think.
They've got their own back now.
Anyway, they have. Nick.
Yes, in the Independent, Norway considers call to send second Christmas tree after flood of criticism for Trafalgar Square spruce. So you all saw on the internet that rubbish tree. Ungrateful Britons have described it as appearing flea-bitten and suggested it might have been revenge for the sacking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as Man United manager. Although we did give him about 3 years, to be fair. So, yes, like you said, they send it every year as thanks for the attempts to defend the country from Nazi predations during the Second World War. I'm wondering if they're seeing how authoritarian we're going and thinking we won't bother. But anyway, my favourite part of the story was from the mayor of Oslo, who she has said that we have to look through the tree to the symbolism. And I think, it's not hard. There's no leaves on it, or whatever.
Nice.
pines.
How can you look through the tree if
she apparently didn't realise the amazing punch she was making? So yeah, but they might send the second one, but from what I can gather, it's probably not going to pass through their parliament or whatever, and whatever they have in Norway. And I'm so ignorant. And they're not going to send us a second.
Is that in Iceland? They have a thing. I think one of those countries has a thing. I think that's what they call the parliament. A thing.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
no, God, no.
Somebody maybe could text us.
So, yeah, she said, that it's not a Disney tree, not a plastic tree, but it's from a natural forest. So she's saying it's an organic tree.
Oh, it's a bit like when you buy a leather jacket and it goes, that huge blemish on the back, that's a sign that it's a real piece of leather, you idiot.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think that's what she's trying to say.
Authentically rubbish, basically.
Yeah. I haven't been to see it, have you?
I didn't make the journey, no.
I mean, no, to Trafalgar Square, not to Norway. It looks all right in the photograph, but I haven't been into Trafalgar Square lately. But it's always a little bit underwhelming because Trafalgar Square, I mean, Nelson's Column is like so much vaster than any tree can be. I always think it's actually a slightly odd place to put a tree that is bound to be immediately dwarfed.
You've now got that awful ice cream sculpture thing, haven't you?
Yeah, I haven't seen. What is that on the fourth?
Modern art that I don't approve of. Yeah.
Oh, it's awful. What's going to go on there? The Queen when she is.
I don't know.
Moving on.
I'm not generally in charge of these decisions, Sam.
I hope something goes up on that fourth plinth and ends this hideous cavalcade, this charade. It's just distressing, isn't it? There's just an ugliness where you're being forced to.
I've got a few more things going on in my life, but that's that's just me. Okay.
The Guardian next with a story about rival camel owners who are getting the hump. You can't say camels without hump, about some of the quick fix beauty treatments that are being deployed to try and win camel beauty contests. And there they are, some of those gorgeous. I don't know if those are.
Oh, come on, Rick.
They are. Look, there's a lot of mascara on there, but apparently that's not the one that's not what's at issue.
That's a good-looking camel.
Who's got this?
That's
one?
me. Oh, I was so happy to get. So I've never. Who knew there was these camel beauty contests?
I mean, like they are a bit sexy, aren't they?
But just a little bit, mate. Come on.
So, I mean, they're no llama.
No, but look at that. I mean, supposedly there's some Botox, filler.
There's the most gorgeous one. Apparently.
Oh my God! Yeah, you can see someone's
eyelashes.
Look, yeah, someone's done the eyelashes. Yeah, I mean that's a good looking.
Or is it more Sophia Loren? The eyes. Are
that's a little bit. That is a bit weird. That
sort of more E.T.
But the mouth is quite John Major.
It's and that's what does it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a serious business. This is $66 million in prize money. So they take their camels.
Snooker. This is Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah, Ron Jr. That's where he needs to get into camels. No wonder they're doing filler and cosmetic surgery and whatever.
Camel.
Yeah, it's.
So where do they put the Botox? Was it in the lips there?
I think they're doing the lips. It is. It's all about the animals' heads, their posture, the humps. I mean,
and can I ask? This is maybe
as the expert
question,
now.
But are they gendered? These camels? Does it matter?
Well, that definitely seemed like that was a good-looking woman.
Well, I mean, you expect to
was a good-looking woman.
You expect to appreciate and understand it as it was coded as feminine.
What do they identify as?
Yeah. But I'm not sure necessarily that would,
We may never know.
No. Well, a lot of animals, the male is the more splendid of the species, isn't it? You look at the
the
peacock
selection,
the
female,
peacock, exactly. No, that's
the male. That's the male. Yes, you're right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and the drake, of course.
The hens are very brown, and most of the ducks, exactly. Yeah. I don't know whether it's quite true with the baboons with their extraordinarily inflamed and the mandrill with the glorious coloured faces.
Men are better across all species than what you're trying to say.
They are, basically, you know.
It's
only civilization that has forced us into this humiliating retreat. The Sun now with some breaking news about scones, or possibly scones, Josh.
Oh, I thought we would... Okay.
Oh, is that... Sorry, have I missed one of yours?
No, I wanted to do Elon Musk. It's so important, but let's do the scone story.
Do scones.
Yeah, the scone story is... this is basically they have... Devon, Cornwall, they've got a big fight. Supposedly, this is a decades-long dispute. Decades. So someone spotted that in an advert they had done it the wrong way, according to the other town, and then they've done a pun about it, saying it's scone.
I can't believe we scuppered your Elon Musk story for that.
It's fine.
Sorry, Nick, it doesn't feel worth it. I'm afraid we've run out of time altogether.
Okay.
Gentlemen, would you like to say goodnight to your favourite loved ones?
Yes, I would like to say goodnight to the person who sent Nick a great tweet during the interval and made him very happy.
Thank you very much for that, yes.
Nick has been in the middle for the first time, and I think he's coped admirably. And now you understand some of the challenges about communicating with both your fellow guest and the host and the people.
But I think I smashed it.
Folks, it's been an extraordinary evening. Tomorrow's headlines are going to be with you very shortly. Good night.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello again. Gradually through the next 24 hours, the wind is going to ease. Showers will ease with a better chance of some sunshine in places by Thursday. However, some more rain will move in from the west later in the day. Storm Barra is filling and moving away. As a result, the wind on the whole starting to lessen during the next 24 hours. And any showery rain that's still wrapped around that area of low pressure will also tend to disappear. But it's going to take some time, so further showers in places through the central zones and northwestern areas overnight. A better chance, though, in places of some clear spells developing through the night. And with those winds coming down, a touch of frost possible for parts of northern England, Scotland, for example, Northern Ireland, where we get some shelter, where we get those clear skies. A bright but chilly start in these locations, and then the last of Storm Barra, this area of cloud and some showers, moves east through Thursday morning, clearing by lunchtime, so a decent chance of sunshine in the east by the afternoon, whilst further west the cloud builds and another spell of rain moves in. It also brings milder air, 12 Celsius in the southwest, whilst it stays cold, 6 or 7 further east. And here's that band of showery rain. Nothing too problematic. It moves east for most places during Thursday afternoon and evening, clearing during the early hours, I think, from the far southeast. Then, once that's out of the way, we're into a clear spells and showery regime, with those showers pushing quite quickly into western areas, whilst clearing skies further east could lead to a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, but most places frost-free because of the breeze, I think, on Friday morning. The best of the sunshine on Friday will be in the east, perhaps the Midlands and southern England as well. However, in the northwest and west, we'll see frequent showers moving in, hail and thunder, snow over the mountains, and it will feel cold in the breeze. Saturday starts off chilly before rain arrives later, milder in the south on Sunday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
You're watching GB News live across the UK and the world on our digital stream.
GB News is Britain's news channel.
We are the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
We are here for you. Don't forget to join our YouTube community by clicking on that subscribe button.
And if you want the GB News app, you can click and catch up on programmes anytime.
We love to hear from you, so email us.
gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Thanks for being part of the GB News family.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.